I have a college degree, and that's American. When it came time to getting my diploma, I technically shouldn't have gotten one because I had failed a required pharmacology class. Failed with a capital F. Judge me if you want, it was the same class the pharmacists take. To my credit, it was a hard class, and most of the people in there who weren't gonna be pharmacists didn't do that well either.
Hello class, please take a syllabus and pass them along and pay attention as I will be lecturing in a monotone with no visuals for approximately 90 minutes.
But as luck would have it, the next graduating class after me wasn't gonna be required to take that pharma crap, so they made an exception. So all the people in my group that studied their butts off, suckers. The only reason I survived as a high school senior was my entire schedule was made up of elective art and creative writing classes. Wasn't so fortunate in the years before that. Recently at my mom's house, I found some old notes from teachers. Like my 10th grade Latin teacher. Here she says I started my semester well, but was beginning to slide again. That means I'd slid before. Of course, sliding is a nice way of saying failing. I forgot I even took Latin, so I still can't conjugate agricola. My 10th grade Algebra 2 teacher, well, here's a note pointing out my several missing assignments and my C- average. She said I was in danger of dropping to a D by the end of the quarter. Don't worry, I got myself out of danger by getting that D. 9th grade Spanish. Como podías ver, las noticias no eran buenas, porque pensé que hablaría español en mi vida. Thing is, that was her second warning. A couple months earlier, I got one that said I had 31 out of 80 points and I needed to spend more time on my studies. More time, as if I was spending any. Also got 2 warnings from my 9th grade geometry teacher. First one pointing out I'd only returned 5 of my 13 assignments and I wasn't doing well on tests. Sure, but there was precedent because my 8th grade algebra teacher also pointed out I didn't return assignments. I don't know why I'm... What? Also in 8th grade, my science teacher sent home a note that said I did great on tests, but I'd yet to turn in a single assignment. And that was in April. At least I'm consistent. Most of these notes have a common thread. Not doing the work. And here's some of the commentary from the check boxes. Does not make good use of free time. Does not refrain from unnecessary talking. Does not have positive attitudes towards school and learning. Does not listen well while others are talking. Does not this sound familiar to anyone else here? And those teachers didn't know what to do with me because back in the Stone Ages in my little podunk town, ADHD didn't exist. Wasn't a good student, not even mediocre, but I didn't fit the definition of a special ed kid. So in conclusion, I was just a lackadaisical bum. There was no Section 504 protection for me. Being a lazy loser wasn't a disability. There were no special accommodations or tailored assignments. And it all came down to me, the kid who wouldn't sit down, shut up, and pay attention. Trying to be witty and sarcastic, and this is way harder than I thought it'd be. So like I said, it was my fault because I wouldn't sit down, shut up, and pay attention, and I guess some of the blame should have fallen on my parents, but they were busy dealing with some stuff at the time. My dad, who also had trouble shutting up and paying attention, was busy living in another state. He never really asked me about school unless it was report card time. My other parent was busy being a latchkey mom. The stereotypical single mom of Gen X kids barely keeping up the family budget by buying generic groceries and threatening to sue her ex for back child support a dozen times a year. Her job was her Shangri-La away from her asshole teenagers who also wouldn't sit down, shut up, and pay attention when they were home. I spent my first 20-odd years thinking I was kind of dumb. I did manage to make some friends and find some interests that I could kind of succeed in, mainly art and music. I even managed a scholarship in art, but didn't make it through a year of college that time around because I still had the problems I had in high school. So I was a college dropout with a 2-point-something GPA. I worked in various retail, restaurants, video stores, a yogurt shop, a casino, a car dealership, till I decided to go back to college when I was 25 because I was tired of being a low-income, job-hopping retail monkey. And then it happened. I realized I wasn't stupid, and I could actually be kind of smart sometimes. Right? I still didn't do well in the really boring classes like the pharma thing. I did alright in physics when there were visual aids, otherwise I got by cramming stuff I didn't understand in my head the night before the test. I barely made it through statistics because I had real trouble following the professor's explanations, plus he was a Hasidic Jew, which was really rare in Iowa City. Here I was on a hot August day trying to understand what he's talking about with confidence intervals, and I'm thinking, I'm confident he's sweating his Batesum off in that getup. Also, he had the longest sideburns I'd ever seen. I know you all know this, but we didn't have the internet back then. Another problem I had was Mel Brooks' Inquisition song would run through my head every time I went to class. He looked great in those hats though, and he was a really cool dude. Fun story, I spaced the final exam in that class, didn't show up, missed it completely, but he let me take it the next day, which really saved my butt. I couldn't take another semester of that song. No, 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 no. And that is the closest I've ever gotten to an ADHD accommodation. Nowadays, I make my own accommodation, which normies call quirks. If I earned your subscription, please hit the button of the bell. Both my kids make videos. I'll link them at the end. Thanks for watching. Stay out of the comfort zones.
Most sharks are afraid of dolphins. You probably didn't realize that because sharks are scary with all those teeth.
Hi, I'm Mariana, and I'm going to show you how to make a centerpiece